Hello everyone, it is Sunday night and we are here at Bat City Comic Professionals. It must be time to wind down your weekend. As always, I'm your host, Shannon, aka Small Press Shann. It's like I forgot my own name for a second there. It is St. Patrick's Day, which is really exciting. I hope you're being safe if you are out celebrating. I know it's Sunday, so a lot of people aren't. I hope you had some delicious food and some great flavors and some green beer, if that's how you choose to celebrate. We are actually going to be celebrating with the fact that it is Sunday with some wine, and this is the, do we think it's Wente or Wente family wine? We're going to go with Wente. I'm going to call it Wente. We're going to say that. It's a Cab Sauv from the Livermore Valley, which is, of course, in California wine districts. And they say that this one has flavors of red cherry, plum flavor, soft tannins, undertones of coffee and spice, a bunch of things that sound like they're going to make a really great wine. So I'm going to take a drink of this first and foremost because I'm actually just really thirsty and see how it tastes. Oh, wow, there's a lot of flavor in that. That's very full.
Full body.
You can definitely taste, like, the spice that they were talking about, which I love. I love spicy wines. You can definitely taste the spiciness in this one. I don't know what coffee tastes like when they just say things taste like coffee. I never know what that means. Does this taste like coffee?
No, it doesn't taste like coffee, but it has a coffee.
Does it have coffee notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I think about coffee, maybe I can taste coffee.
I can taste the smell of coffee on, like, the top of the roof of my mouth now.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like coffee smells, if that makes any sense at all. Okay.
Exactly
Good.
What I get to.
Okay. Yeah, so it does say that, does it say what goes with? It does not say what it goes with. Matt, what would you put this with if you were going to put it with a food?
Chicken.
Chicken?
I usually put heavier wines with a lighter food. You know?
Yeah.
I want something less jammy with a steak.
Yeah.
Like a Pinot Noir. But this has a little bit more body to it, a little bit more jamminess. So.
And it says that there are soft tannins, but I feel like I can taste the tanninness of it. And I like that, so.
They're not sharp tannins.
No, they're not sharp, but they are there. Like, it's not, like, it was smart to list that, like, tannin flavor in general on your bottle because you definitely can taste it. It doesn't taste as plummy as some of the ones who list plum taste, but I think it does have a nice blend of the fruits that it mentions instead of just being, like, one of them. Because I feel like a lot of times when people list a lot of fruits, I'm like, I taste one of them. This one I actually feel like tastes like a bouquet of fruits to put together.
I can taste the plums, but in the same way as the coffee.
Like,
it's there.
It's there. It all kind of blends together in a nice way. This is a good wine. This is definitely more, I know, like last week I was saying, like, if you were new to wine and you were looking for something that you would be easy for you to handle, this is definitely going to be one where if you are new to wine, it might be too much. This is something that, like, is for somebody who's used to drinking red wines. I would go with something like this, that you will probably enjoy it, but yeah, it's good. I'm going to be drinking that throughout the show as we pop in and out to talk about it. Speaking of talking about things, I'm going to share this for the world to see that we are talking about comics right now, so let me grab this and share it. Maybe I'm going to share it. If it's there, there we are. We're there, everybody. Yay. Okay. So we are going to be talking about the comics tonight that came out, all of our small press and indie books. But before we jump into that, I want to shout out a huge thank you to so many people this week. I got to, oh my gosh, I feel like I've done so many things. Where do I start? I got to hang out with the teens at Also Youth this week. Thank you to Molly and the Also Youth team for bringing me out. We got to do a workshop with them. I'm going to be posting some of, I think I have some pictures still to post from that. It was really great. We learned how to make some comics. And they had just watched Nimona. So we got to talk about that in comparison with the stories they were making, which was really cool, and just kind of talk about what comics can be. We got to, this week we had an amazing group of people show up to help us move out some boxes. So thank you to everybody who was a part of that. It was incredible to have people just like surprise us and say like, hey, I'm coming to help. That was so great. Thank you. And thank you for everybody for your patience as we had to close for a little bit on Friday to handle that. We had our ladies and non-binary nerd night this week, which was a huge party. We had so many people come, and we got to celebrate some birthdays and just have some really great snacks. It was on Pie Day this year, so we also got to have some pie all together and celebrate just being nerds, which was a lot of fun. The next one of those will be April 18th, so you can come hang out with us. It's when the store closes. It's a lot of fun. We just kind of take over and have snacks and hang out and chill, and it's great. And then yesterday we had our comic creation workshops, which are our free monthly it's one of our free monthly programs here in the store for kids in the community to come. And it was really great because we have a rule that parents can stay, but if they do, they have to participate. And we actually had quite a few grandparents stay yesterday and parents throughout the day and actually participate and make their own comics. So it was really cool to see kids and their family members like challenging each other to come up with some really cool stuff. And we had some incredible stories that we made up as a group and even more incredible stories that people were making up individually. I love seeing what everybody came up with. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you always for sharing your creativity with us. We love to see what you can do when your mind is free to create. And if you want to join us for those next month, you're going to check our Facebook page for the date for those, because I don't know it off the top of my head, because next month is April, and that's going to be a very big month because we also have our Academic Avengers celebration fun time coming up in April as well, so keep an eye out. That is April 27th. There's going to be so many fun things going on in April. It's going to be a big month. So and then right after that is Free Comic Book Day, May the 4th, so make sure you've got that on your calendars now. 11 to 4 May 4th, we're going to be giving out free comics, and we're going to have so many fun things going on as well that day, so you're not going to want to miss April 27th or May 4th. And since you're adding things to your calendar, just go ahead and put SiestaCon on your calendar on May 11th. We will be out there with our friends from Darkside. I believe our friends from Sentence Gaming will also be out there that day, so there's going to be all kinds of fun stuff set up there from local stores, then artists and voice actors and people who are going to cosplayers. Lots of activities going on. We'll be doing some comic making workshops there, as well as some other fun things. So May 11th down in Sarasota, put SiestaCon on your calendar now. Get excited. It's going to be great. Speaking of great things, like I said, we've got a lot of new comics talking about this week, so I'm going to jump in. We're going to kick it off with House of Slaughter, issue 21 from Boom Studios. This is part of our ongoing Something is Killing the Children universe, and this side of the story has been following the story of the butcher house and of the long lost butcher who has kind of interwoven himself into the story of our Something is Killing the Children universe. And what's really cool with this is there is now, we know Erica Slaughter has kind of gone a little rogue over the course of her story and Something is Killing the Children. And so now the butcher house and the slaughter house have come together because they realize they're both seeing some rogue black mask in their midst, and they need to help each other take them down. And this may be also a chance for the butcher house to make a play to take down the slaughterhouse. So we are actually seeing multiple dragons meet up. We are learning a little more history about the houses and how they can take each other down, or how they can grow together and how things can happen. And we are about to get a really, really big war coming our way in House of Slaughter. And we're going to see if this crosses over a little more Something is Killing the Children, because this is some of the first time that they've really blasted us with, like, well, Erica's doing this in the middle of the House of Slaughter story. So I have a feeling we might see some of this connect. I Hate Fairyland, issue 12. This is out of the latest volume, which I believe is 5 of I Hate Fairyland. And don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it is. It might be 6, actually. Anyway, this is the story of Gert, who is a young girl who at one point was trapped in Fairyland, just supposed to be doing a fun little adventure. But over the course of time, literally like 4.5 volumes, 5 volumes, she does eventually have to find her way through Fairyland. And now she's back in Fairyland. She's stuck there again. She's mad about it. And we've been seeing just some regular stories, but this is kind of an interlude to Gert's main story and telling us once again the story of the three billy goats Gruff trying to go across the bridge, a tale that we are all very familiar with from our regular fables and folklore. Except in this, we learn about the fourth billy goat, Gruff, who isn't the most appealing of the billy goats because, well, that goat has a secret. And that secret, my friends, as you may know, is Gert. And so we are going to see how Gert plays out the story of the three billy goats, Gruff, if she was a part of it. This is really just, like I said, it's kind of a little interlude. It's a one-shot if you wanted to ever know, like, who Gert was and what Fairyland is like. This is a great issue for anybody to just pick up and figure out if this is going to be a series that you might be interested in, because it doesn't actually tell you anything before or after about what was going on with Gert. Like, they even end it by, like, closing a storybook. So you don't have to know anything. Just jump into this issue and figure out if you like the characters and the storytelling aspects of it before you go and read 6 volumes of a story. A Legacy of Violence, issue 11 from Mad Cave. This is getting to its ultimate climax. You can feel that it's coming. If you didn't know what this book was about for the past 11 issues, so this is the story of a guy who is a doctor and has a patient show up who starts whispering something about a secret room and some like red room almost style operations that are going on. And the guy's like, I have to figure this out. It sounds familiar. I need to know what it is. And he ends up going and joining like a Doctors Without Borders program to try to figure out where this room is and learn about it. And he does, in fact, find out that there are some very nefarious operations going on. And now him and all of the other doctors are totally entangled in this. And we have found out over the course of the last 11 issues that he actually really is more a part of it than even he knew. And so we are starting to see how his past and his family's past really is coming into play into what's happening with this Red Room style operation. And again, we're getting to like some decisions have to be made. Some people need to be saved. Some walking away or some dying or some freeing people is going to have to happen if we're going to see the end of this story come in like the next maybe issue, maybe 2, maybe Cullen Bunn's got a whole nother volume up his sleeves. Who knows where this is going. Dark Ride, issue 11 from Image and their Skybound imprint. If you are enjoying all of like Dawn of DC, or if you're enjoying the G.I. Joe stuff, you're probably a fan of Joshua Williamson, and he is the creator and writer of Dark Ride. And so if you haven't jumped on this ride yet, like, you should totally check it out, especially if you're a fan of amusement parks or Disney, because essentially this is what if Walt Disney had wanted to get involved in horror instead of happy-go-lucky theme parks. And so what if he built a theme park that kind of was just all built around the devil and the darkness inside of people and horror movies and things like that. And this man, who is essentially our Walt Disney, has 2 kids, one whose name is Samhain and the other one's name is Halloween. And Samhain goes by Sam, as most people who have that name do in horror franchises. And he has been running the park, and now his father, Arthur Dante, and his sister have opened up some more evil than anybody could ever have expected. And so he has been trying to stop a lot of this evil that is happening. And this second half of this issue, we find out that nobody was prepared for what kind of evils could lie in Arthur Dante's theme park. Maybe not even him. And so if you are just looking for a really bright colored experience in a fun theme park that may lead you to hell, get on the ride. And it's really, really good. Josh was killing it with that book. Up next, we've got No One, issue 8 from Image, and this is a part of your Massive Verse. It's on your Black Market Narrative imprint, so it is in the same world, possibly, allegedly, as the Radiant Black world, but we haven't seen much of a crossover for this. This is really cool, though, because this story does have an ongoing podcast as well that stars Patton Oswalt and Rachel Lee Cook, and they play the characters that are actually running a podcast here in this book. And so the story of No One is about a man who mysteriously is like a vigilante, and some people died. And so maybe he's a bad guy, maybe he's a good guy. Nobody really knows, because nobody knows who he is, and nobody knows what his motivations are. But the thought is that he is the son of a former police officer who has now, like, this son is in jail and everybody thinks it's him, except now we're getting all of these copycat situations. Or is the No One still on the loose? And as they're trying to figure all this out, a lot of other conspiracies and coincidental things start to happen. And in this issue, we actually find out that the stuff that's been going on may be more connected to this police officer than anybody knew. Going back to a case that he and his partner solved in a way that had gone under investigation back in the day, and maybe all that information was falsified. And so is he more connected to No One? Is he more connected to the bad guys? Is he connected to everything in this story? We don't actually know. I have no idea how we're going to put all this together. This is one of those stories where you, like, if you're following along with your little clue guide and you're starting to try to piece things together, you actually still don't have enough information to solve the mystery, which I kind of like, because a lot of times in storytelling, as a reader, you know more than the people and you're just like waiting for them to catch up. I like this where we're finding that we're as far behind as everybody, and each piece of the puzzle kind of has a different set of information, and yet even as a reader, we're still not ahead of the game. And so I like that for it, but I do want to know, like, how are we going to wrap this up and where is it going to sit, because I think it's only 10 issues and we're at 8 now. Next up, I'm going to fold back the shipping cover. We have Genesis 2. This is issue 6. And this is from Gen 7 Comics, which I think is actually an imprint of, like, Titan or one of those, but I can't remember which one, so don't, again, quote me on that. But this is the origins. And so the last issue gave us the origin of our main character, Daniel, and his best friend, Lee. This is actually giving us the origin story, 2 origin stories. One half of the story gives us the origin of how Daniel created all of his animals, which he has these mutated animals who he uses as protection. And so we kind of see how Daniel created those in the first half of this as the origin of them. And then the second half is actually the origin story of our 2 possibly villains, one of which is like our Lex Luthor. He's definitely the villain, and the other one you're supposed to believe is kind of a good guy, but it's almost like a Magneto and Charles Xavier of like research scientist, really, is what they are. Like, we've got the one guy who has, like, oh, I'm only out to, like, hurt people because I need them to understand that, like, this is how I feel about the world. And the other guy is like, well, I need to bring logic and power, like, through logic. And one builds an empire and the other one builds a place that's supposed to, like, keep people safe, but really he's the one that's, like, fortified himself, and the other one's kind of, like, out there with the people. And so you kind of see how these 2 characters came to be, which, if you've been reading the first part of this, the first 4 issues of Genesis 2, you saw that we are in this war that kind of is between these 2 people, and we as the citizens of this town have kind of just been drug in between them to see what's going on. And so it's kind of neat to see their backstory and to see what's going on with them and how they got to where they're going. And then it does say at the end that we are going to see more of the Genesis story continue, so we'll get to see more of these people as they go on. We've got the Prism issue 6 from Ablaze Comics up next. I really enjoy this book. It's been so much fun because it is so, like, a cool way to watch, like, a musically based comic work. Basically, the world is coming to an end, and the only way that we can save it is through these special frequencies that would have to resound in space. And so the way they're going to do that is they're going to take a band out to space and have them play this concert out there with these specialty instruments. And so in order to find the appropriate musicians to play every instrument and not risk it, they bring the best of the best for each instrument together. And so now these people are training out in space. And the thing is that, like, they all have big egos. They've all got their style. And so they're not only having to learn how to play music together, just having to learn how to live together and work together to see if it's going to work. And in this issue, they finally get, like, their first little sound check out in space to see if everything is going to work. And we have some mysterious stuff happening off in the distance. So is there something coming for them? Is it a little too late? Are they going to make it? Are they all just losing their minds because they're out in space? We're going to find out as the story continues to unfold. I'm really glad to see that this is more than 6 issues, because I thought they were going to try to cram it all into like a 4 or 5 issue miniseries, and the fact that it's going to keep going makes me really happy, because there is so much more story to tell there. Transformers, issue 6 from Image Comics, Skybound, and of course, the Energon universe. So if you are following along, even with just this show, you know that there's a massive universe going on with the new Transformers G.I. Joe that have just come to Image. And it is called the Energon universe. It kicked off in Void Rivals, and then it went into Transformers, which Daniel Warren Johnson is writing and drawing. And we've kind of been following along as the Autobots are trying to catch up. If you're a Transformers fan, you know usually when the Autobots and the Decepticons arrive on Earth, the Autobots are like, oh, we have everything we need, and now we just need to round up these Decepticons and get back on our way, kind of thing. Well, that didn't work out so well in this version of the story, and this one, the Decepticons had all of the energy, and they had the resources, and all the Autobots didn't even get to awaken because there wasn't any power for them. And so now they have been trying to essentially rob the Decepticons of their energy so that they can bring all the Autobots to life. And basically in this issue, we are just in a knockdown, drag-out fight between Autobots and Decepticons. And we kind of get to see, as always with the Transformers, the humans that are working with them and the sacrifices they're willing to make sure that Optimus and crew can stop the evil Decepticons before it's too late. Abbott, 1979, issue 5 from Boom Studios. This is the wrap-up of this volume, and possibly of all of Abbott. I think this is the 3rd volume of the Abbott story, so she could come back to us again in the future. But Abbott is a woman who has the power to control light. And so she is the light bringer who is supposed to keep us all safe. She and fight the Umbra, which is the darkness that is constantly threatening to consume the world. And in the last volume, or at the end of the last volume, her partner got sucked into the Umbra just because of her own wish fulfillment and darkness, like taking her in the wrong way. And so Abbott has kind of grown old and it's like disassociated with the light and doesn't really want to keep fighting, but now she has to because the Umbra is going to take over the whole world. And so in this issue, she has to battle against not only the Umbra and darkness, but the very love of her life, to try to stop the bad thing from consuming everybody and just kind of bring back the light from herself and everybody around her if she's going to save the day and save the world and save the girl. It's such a great story to just remind you to like focus on the light, and you get a nice a group of characters who have been working, for the last 3 volumes to just continue that no matter what point in their life they're at. And it's been fun. So if this is the end, it was a really great ending. If it's not, I'm so down for more. The Nowhere Man, issue 5 from Bad Kids Press. This is the story of a guy who, after losing his father, has gone into maybe the afterlife, maybe a Twilight Zone, maybe just a dream spaces, which is kind of what they've called it. And he's supposed to be dealing with his grief and figuring out where he's going and what he's supposed to be doing. And he's just kind of continuously lost and doesn't really know what is happening, doesn't really know what his approach to any of this is. And so he's been wandering around recently with the god Anasi, who is a trickster god, and he's helping him in all the best ways, but it's not really getting him to where he needs to go. And when he finally thinks that he may have a way out of this world, it turns out that that might not be his path. And so he's still trying to figure out in this issue where he's at and what's going to happen to him. And he's kind of just wandering through the nowhere trying to figure out who he is. And I just love this really cool art. But yeah, so check it out. It's kind of one of those existential crazy books where you're like, I don't know where you are, but let's keep going with it. Up next, we have the North Valley Grimoire issue 5 from Massive Publishing. And this is the adaptation of the best-selling novel And it's actually the author of the novel doing the adaptation as well. But this is about a young girl, a college girl, who, after her best friend is killed or dies, she's not really sure what exactly happened to him, she ends up entangled with a person who is a part of a government agency that essentially works to use magic and stop magic from spreading. And she has found this grimoire, which is supposed to be the most powerful spell book of all time. And an evil, like the evil bad guys have come for her. They're trying to use her in all of the wrong ways, and she's trying to figure out who she should team up with and who she shouldn't. And at the end of the day, for her, all she really wants is her mother, who has been in prison all this time. And she's like, hey, if I can figure out how to just use this magic to get my mom back, like, I don't care which side I'm on. And so this is the climax of this story, where she is having to make the decisions. She is having to decide, is she going to be a good guy? Is she going to be a bad guy? Who is she going to fight for? What is she going to do? And, where is this grimoire going to end up at the end? And I really like this story. Blake does say at the end that, of course, it was hard to put everything in a novel into a comic. So maybe we'll see some more, and we'll get to have some more stories of this team, which would be really great. All right, we've got Zawa in the Belly of the Beast, issue 5 from Boombox. I love this book. Everybody knows that I love this book. I talk about it all the time. It's so beautiful. It's so positive. It's so wonderful. And this is the last issue. But this is the story of a bunch of teenagers who live on an island, and that island has a guardian that is supposed to keep the monsters at bay that are trying to constantly destroy the island. And they are told that the guardian is being protected by the governor. Come to find out, the governor is not what he says he is, and neither are some of their parents. And they actually find the guardian, and she's an adorably wonderful kid, but destruction comes their way anyway. And so now these kids are working to not only save their guardian friend, but also save their homes and rebuild the beauty of nature and kindness and goodness into the world. And so this is that finale. So we're going to see them battle against all this darkness. So I'm not going to show you the second half of this book, because you have to figure out how it works out for them and Zawa. And, buy some cookies and eat them while you read the series, because that is Zawa's favorite food, and it should be yours too. Petrolhead, issue 5 from Image Comics. Speaking of another bright, beautiful comic book, this is the story of a girl whose father is a scientist in a futuristic city, and he has discovered some nanobites that can essentially save everyone from all of the bad things that are looming ahead, the disease and all of that. And of course the government doesn't want them to get out, so he steals them and his daughter, and they try to go on the run, and the government is after them, and the only person who can help them is actually a robot whose job it used to be to race cars in the robot race games. But he was even fired from that because he's outdated and nobody wants him around anymore. And so now he is the only one that can help this girl get her nanobites to safety and figure out how to solve whatever it is that her father was planning for them to figure out. And so they have been working on trying to get some teams of robots or anybody that could help them so that they can get out of the area they're in and into the ozone. And so they are moving in that direction in this issue and going on some big race moments. And there's so much heart in this story for every character. And you just every time you meet a new robot, every time you meet a new person, you're yet another wonderful character. And I love their journey and where they're going, and seeing each of them grow each month. I'm going to take a drink. I was going to wait until we got to the next number, but I think it's a lot of number 5s this week. So I'm going to take another drink of the Wente Vineyards Cab Sav. It's good. I like that. All right. I know I didn't give any information on it that time. I was like, that's just good. But no, it does. I do still taste a lot of the spice as the main kick to it, which does make me happy. But I am starting, like you said, to get more of the plum texture to it. It still doesn't taste like a plum to me like some of the other ones do, but it does kind of have a little bit of the plum juice feel to it, taste to it.
I don't really like plum, but I like this.
Yeah. We get a lot of wines that have plum flavor to them, and that's why I'm this one doesn't taste as plummy as a lot of the plum wines. This one tastes more, I guess, of the coffee spice taste than it does the plum taste to me.
It tastes cherries.
Which is the first fruit it lists, is the black cherries.
Yeah.
Black cherry is the main fruit.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Which is why it's delicious.
All right, Fish Flies. This is issue 5 of Fish Flies from Image Comics and Jeff Lemire. This is an adorable story, and I actually, Franny from this story made it on my list of comic book characters I want to be friends with, because Franny just needs a friend, and also Franny is the most dedicated friend you're ever going to get. She is so cute. And in this story, if you don't know, Franny is a young girl who lives with her dad, who's kind of an abusive jerk and an alcoholic, and she is known as the snotty kid in class who nobody wants to associate with. And so, like I said, she just needs a friend. And she ends up meeting a giant bug of a man who we know was at one point a human and was involved in a murder and now has turned into a giant bug. And Franny has taken him in and is going to protect him because he's kind to her and he is her friend. And in this issue, we are still watching as, you know, a detective who's been trying to figure out what's going on with the murder, but also with the missing girl who is Franny, is trying to solve the case. We've got the woman whose son was murdered also stepping in and trying to find pieces of the case to unravel. And then we learn about some new characters in this issue who are a brother and sister who seem to have a lot of knowledge of this bug man and where these bugs come from and history of the bugs and men in the town. And so there is a lot to unpack in this issue with who they are. But as always in any horror adjacent kind of story, humans are the worst and you can't trust them. And if anything bad happens to Franny by the end of this book, I'm going to be so mad. So keep my girl Franny safe, Jeff Lemire, because I love her and I just want to hug her. And you should read this book because it's so good. It is one of Matt's picks on our shelf. So if you are looking for something to come in and talk to Matt about, this is definitely a book to grab and ask him why he loves it so much. Up next, we have Assassin's Apprentice, Volume 2, Issue 4. I think I wrote Volume 3. I apparently thought we were way into Assassin's Apprentice, but this is a Dark Horse title, and it is all about a young boy who is the illegitimate son of a prince. And he has maintained the power that his princely family, like his royal family, has, which is the ability to sense other people's thoughts and emotions. And he actually has the skill not only with people, but with animals. And so he has been using it as a servant boy, essentially, living with the dogs and the horses. And they have brought him in to train as an assassin with the royal family's assassin. Well, in this volume, the princess, who was married to his father, has come, or is married to his father, I guess I should say, has come in and said, you know what, I was wrong. I should have never pushed you away just because you weren't my kid. I think I need to raise you. You're not getting properly trained. And so now she's trying to turn him into a princely kid and is kind of taking it upon herself to do all of his tutoring and raising herself. And everybody's like, what's her agenda? Why does she want to do this? Meanwhile, the king, who actually has an agenda, is like, hey, I have actual assassin work for you to do. And so this kid is being pulled in 1,000 different directions, being trained by all different people for different roles. And honestly, he just wants to play with dogs and be a kid and enjoy his life. And nobody is letting him do that. And I love this story so much. This kid is such a good character. He's so wholesome and wants to do the right thing in all capacities. And it's like, this is a character that if you stuck him in Game of Thrones, somebody would have murdered him a long time ago. But at the same time, I just want to see him, take everybody out and live happily ever after, or just, run away and live happily ever after. I just want this kid to be happy, because he's so sweet and so kind, and he's always just trying to use his power to help people. So, don't hurt him. Maybe he needs to be in Franny's story and she can protect him. Next we have Dark Spaces Dungeons issue 4 from IDW. This is a part of the Dark Spaces world that Scott Snyder has created, which is a bunch of different stories that kind of show places around the world and people around the world who do dark things. And this takes us back to also Scott Snyder writing and Hayden Sherman on art, which was our team on the original Dark Spaces book that came out last year, which was Wildfire. This one, Dungeon, however, is the story of a man who kidnaps people and puts them in these teeny tiny like dungeon pods and has them all over America. And at the very beginning of issue 1, a man finds one out on the edges of his property that he's just bought. And he's like, what is this? And they find out that, like, there's nobody in it, but it was the one that, like, somebody's been in before. And so now this detective shows up and he's like, I'm the kid who used to be in this pod. Like, I know all about it. And so the two of them have been working together to try to solve this mystery because the man's kid has been taken and is in one of the dungeons somewhere. And he's like, I have to save my kid. I'm working with you on this case. And so we have been piecing things together bit by bit, maybe getting closer. It kind of feels like in this issue that we are making strides towards actually catching this guy. But it seems like he's one of those like serial killers who's always like 5 steps ahead of everybody and has you on the trail because he wants you on the trail. So we're going to see if these guys are actually making any progress when we get into the next issue, and if they're ever actually going to be able to save not only this man's son, but everybody else, because who knows how many of these dungeons exist around the world. And it's just, again, it's just a reminder that there is a lot of dark and creepy stuff going on in our world. The Agent, issue 4 from Ablaze Comics. This is another one of our supernatural government agency kind of stories. This is about a woman who is a detective for a regular agency, and she ends up taking on a case one day, and when she's trying to like run the guy down, some really strange stuff happens, and she finds out that there is actually a Bureau of Investigation, essentially, that works with magical cases, and she has stumbled into one of theirs. And the reason why she was able to do that is because she is magical herself, and she never knew it. And so now she is kind of being brought into that magical investigation team because the situation she's investigating may have led her to a werewolf and a werewolf pack. And so she must investigate with these witches and these magical creatures to stop these werewolves. And after this issue, I'm not really sure who the good guy and who the bad guy is as much anymore. Like, we really saw some shady sides to some characters in here. And so we're going to see where this goes. But right now, outside of our main character, I don't really trust anybody. And so I'm curious to see where that's taking all of us. Because if I can't trust you now, where are you going to go for the rest of the series? We're going to figure it out. Skeeters, issue 4 from Mad Cave. This is the wrap-up of this story. And this is, I always say this is like one of those like great B-movie horror movies. And this definitely proves that even more in this issue. So we have been following along as a group of gigantic mosquito-type creatures have escaped from a lab where they were being researched on. They were like these alien creatures that whatever they eat, they can find with. Well, we had the local stoner and his friend kind of hunt them all down, and now they've been working with this local detective, and they figure out that the only person who has been bit and not affected is the local stoner guy. And they're like, hey, maybe we just have to get these bugs really, really high and we'll be able to kill them. And so the guy is like, this is the greatest day of my life. It turns out there really are secret government facilities where they're like experimenting on alien creatures, and the only way to stop them is to get high. This is so fantastic. And so we get to see how that actually plays out for them. And it is hilarious. It is fun. It is a great, just, again, B-movie. Like, get ready to laugh. Like, you're like half expecting to see the green screen behind them as they like take on these creatures, like, because it feels so much like that. But sometimes like those are just the best movies that you absolutely want to watch. So, you know, jump in, enjoy it. It's 4 issues. It's a lot of fun. Our Bones Dust, issue 4 from Image. This is the wrap-up of this story as well. And I'm really actually think that this book needs 2 more issues minimum, because I was like, you get really invested, and I really want this to keep going. But this is the story of a young boy who's in a desert wasteland, like post-apocalyptic society, and he's trying to make it on his own, and all of these like scavengers and ravagers and things are chasing him down, and an AI unit of a giant robot finds him and is like, wow, this kid, he's like surviving, he's doing all these things on his own, like, I find him fascinating, I should help him. And so over the last 4 issues, this AI has just been following this boy and kind of keeping him alive. And now he's led him to a community that knows about the AI and that's been helpful and always standing together. And we see, you know, some upheaval. We see some problems. We see some things go on. And we see these people and this young boy and this AI all have to make some really big decisions all very quickly in this issue. And kind of see where they're going to stand and who's going to lead their path in the future. Red Light, issue 3 from AWA. This book is really taking its time coming out, and I'm always really sad about that because I really, really love this book. But this is about a woman named Lacey, who is an AI, and she is a woman who works in a brothel, and so she's been created just to exist as this sex worker in a brothel, and she is made to look like the owner of the brothel's former, like, his deceased wife, and she's been given all this empathy, and she's the only AI that ever has had this level of empathy. And because of that, she meets a young girl, and she has no idea who she is, and she finds out that that girl, like herself, has never been allowed out of the brothel, and she doesn't think that it's a place for a child, and she doesn't want her to be there. So she's like, I have to make a plan to leave this place, but also to take this girl with me. And so in the last issue, she worked out this elaborate plan that she saw through, and in this issue, they have made their break and they are on the outside. But she realizes that by having somebody help her escape, she's almost exactly back in the same position she was in before. Because now it's like, oh, well, you're going to stay with me because I saved you, right? And like, if you leave this place, then you're going to be in danger. And so you should never leave. You should always stay like right by my side. And it's kind of like, why I just traded one prison for another kind of situation. And so we see Lacey kind of come to some terms with that, but we also see her start to explore like what it would look like to move on. And then we see them start to figure out that Lacey is gone and where she might be. And so we're going to see as this unfolds, maybe we're going to learn who the little girl is, because we still haven't figured out that entirely. I think we as readers know more than Lacey does, but we're going to see what those connections are and where this is taking us, because the next issue is the last issue, at least for this volume. Up next, we have Blowtorch, Bad Roads. This is issue 2 from Comicsburg. Are they in the chat?
In the chat.
Hello! Hi, guys. Thanks for watching, Comicsburg. This was... Oh, I've been waiting for this second issue. This was the characters on this first one. This is one of those, like, cinematic comics where you're like, I feel like I'm watching a movie, and so I've been waiting for the second half. I like to drop for so long so that I could see what happened. And so now that it's here, if you haven't picked it up yet, this follows a man whose name is Richard, and he goes by Blowtorch. And he is somebody who was like this mysterious government organization kind of guy. We don't really know exactly necessarily like where he comes from, what he does, but we know he's well connected, and he is on like out in somewhere like backwoods kind of area, and he ends up getting captured by these people that he investigates, and they've taken him hostage. He is tied up in a chair, and in the last issue, like, they were like, where are you coming from, what are you doing, like, who do you work for? And of course it's not gonna tell him anything because he's government trained. He's like Navy SEAL level, like, awesome. And so he's just like sitting there like biding his time, like, look, I'm gonna get out of here, and when I do, I'm gonna kill all of you, John Wick style. So if you guys don't want that to happen, just let me go now. You can continue doing whatever illicit affairs you're doing, and we'll figure this out between the 3 of us later on. Well, the guys don't listen. They keep him tied up, and he's like, all right, whatever. So in the beginning of this issue, a man comes in and is like, hey, I'm gonna let you free, I'm actually an undercover agent. I'm tired of being here. These people are corrupt. They're going to kill me. My people aren't getting me out. Let's do something to, like, let's get out of here. And he's like, okay, well, I'm not leaving anywhere until I save the little boy, because they're brainwashing this little boy to be terrible, and I don't want him to do that. And so the guy's like, well, I'm out. You're on your own then. And we get to see Blowtorch be Blowtorch. We get to see him tear stuff up in so many different ways. And it's a perfect action movie waiting to happen. So if you, like, seriously, if you like John Wick, if you like even, like, a lot of the, like, 90s, like, 80s, 90s, like, I could see, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme playing this guy, too, Universal Soldier style. But if you love all of those, like, pure on action movies where the one guy can somehow take down, like, 100 guys all on his own, and you're like, dude, he is just about to, like, rack them up and knock them down, Blowtorch is your book. And it's this issue and the last one, and then we kind of see, like, oh, this is the end, but, like, Comicsburg, you're here. You're going to tell me this isn't really the end, right? We're going to get some more Blowtorch coming our way, because 2 issues, we need some more. I know this is just about the bad road he went down, but we're going to hopefully see him again, I hope. So let us know if we are, since you're in the chat, because I'd love to know if we're going to see some more Blowtorch in the future, because he's such a cool action hero. All right, we've got Greenhorns issue 2 from Keenspot. This issue 1 came out, like, last year. I actually thought that they canceled it after issue 1 came out, because I have not seen this book in almost a year, maybe a full year, and I got really sad because it's such a great premise, and so I'm glad to see that it's back. This is about a group of kids who, very much like a Narnia Chronicles kind of thing, like they're sent to go live with their uncle in a mysterious place, and this is like Old West kind of thing. And then they get there and there's all these like monsters and magic, and they're like, what is going on? Like, I thought you were supposed to, like, let us come stay with you for safety. How is this happening? And the uncle at the end of the first one was like, okay, I got to tell y'all some stuff. And so in this one, he ends up telling them, like, hey, here, if you take these vials, it's going to tell you whether or not you have power. And so we learned that one of the little girls has the power of light, can, like, blast stuff with it, can be the light, can do whatever. One of the little girls is an amplifier, and then their brother doesn't actually have a power as of yet. And the uncle's like, hey, me and your dad, like, we both came up late, it's fine. Well, so now the uncle is doing some investigations into these monsters, and he is determined to leave these kids at home. And, of course, the girls are stubborn and refuse to do that, so he must take the girls out with him on this adventure. And it doesn't necessarily go the way the girls would want. It definitely goes exactly the way the uncle thought that it was going to go. And danger is afoot. And hopefully we do not have to wait another year to find out what happens, because we are cliffhanger major on the end of issue 2. So hopefully we get an issue 3 soon. The Cabinet, issue 2 from Image Comics. This is such a fun book. This is all about a girl who is a part of a family that's job it is to protect this magic cabinet. And this magic cabinet is supposed to keep the worst of all evils, like, embedded inside of it. And there was an entire system where all these little doodads, as she calls them, have to be put into the cabinet in a certain order. Like, each thing has a certain spot, but, like, none of it goes in really, like, in a legitimate order, and also, like, none of it's real stuff. It's like, oh, this random spoon, or, oh, this spring from a mattress. It's, like, the strangest things. And so, as a little kid, she's determined to go in and figure it out and save the world, but, of course, she's a little kid, and she messes it all up, and now she's unleashed all this evil in the world. And something happened where her parents were, like, sucked into this dark portal. And so now she's a teenager, and she is determined to put things back together again. And so she has gone all around the world trying to find all of the doodads based off the notes that she made when she was, like, 5 years old. And so she's trying to figure out what a 5-year-old was trying to write down and comprehend from an ancient civilization's situation. We find out that she's got a handler in this issue who is somebody who's been associated with this industry for a long time, and where she lies and who her loyalty is really to, we're going to find out. But we also got the introduction of another new character in this issue, and I'm going to go back to specifically find a page that she's on because she's so cool looking. So now you have to wait while I look to find a page, because I am kind of obsessed with this new character already, and I need to find her because, like, I want to show you a picture of her actual face. She's always wearing this, like, cape thing, and that's super cool and all, but, like, let's see if I can find the actual picture of her, because maybe not. Oh yeah, so she's got like this cool white hair and stuff, but she wears the cape, and she's supposed to be like this dark, frightening, menacing person, but then she's always chewing this bright pink bubble gum, and they're like through her cape, and they're like, can you not? So she's kind of like if Starfire and Raven had a baby, almost, because she's so bubbly inside of this dark thing, but then it's gonna be like this ultimate evil. I can't wait for their paths to cross. There's this overwhelmingly wholesome element of this book that just comes through all of it, and I cannot wait to see how this plays out in the end. I'm really excited for it. Adventure Man Ghost Lights, issue 2 from Image Comics, and this is in our Adventure Man world. If you didn't read volume 1 of Adventure Man, that's okay. You can probably jump in here and figure it out, because we're picking up with a woman who did appear in Adventure Man, who is kind of our new Adventure Man, even though she is in fact a woman. But she is our new Adventure Man, and she has gotten herself trapped and is being held hostage, and the only people who can save her are the girls who are her support system. And so her ladies all team up, gain their powers, and are coming after her to kind of try to save the day. And in this issue, they are fighting some ghostly demons that are just really after them, and I love it because they're all like, I did not know that I was signing up to fight ghosts. This is weird. This is strange. And she's like, did nobody like read their information? Like, are you guys not prepared for this? And the whole time they are trying to save a young one who has gotten themselves captured and trapped, and these girls have to act quickly and team up. And I just love seeing a pulp style story where all of the heroes and action like stars are women. It feels very much like the girl from the new Indiana Jones. Like if she had like a whole team of awesome girls just like teaming up with her, this would be fantastic. So I'm just gonna pass this to Matt probably, because I think you read Adventure Man, didn't you?
I read the first issue of the first series.
Yeah, it's very much in that same line of like staying very pulpy, but now it's like an all-girl team, so it's really exciting.
Is that Terry Dodson art or? Terry
Dodson art, Matt Fraction story. Mm-hmm. Blue Book, 1947, issue 2.
Now we're talking.
This is James Tynion telling us some alien stories. If you are a fan of X-Files, you definitely need to be reading this, because it's like you are David Duchovny, and you are getting to go on some amazing journeys. And so this one, being the 1947 volume, is dealing all with UFOs. And so in the very first issue of this volume, we were like, hey, what is a UFO? That term first, we go back to the time when somebody first reported seeing one and what that term was. And now we are kind of investigating that. We're looking at more people who are seeing them and kind of following along with that. So if you read volume 1 of Blue Book, you know it followed primarily like one story, the like original like alien encounter story that was documented. This is kind of giving us that same thing, except with the first encounter of UFOs. It's so fascinating to see, and what's really cool is that James Tynion's not making these stories like bigger and adding on to them or anything. He's literally just giving us the exact stories from the Blue Book pages of government notes on these alien encounters. You can look them up, you can read the documents, and they just follow right in line with it. So it's so cool to see what he's doing. And then the other thing is that every Blue Book issue has a backup story. And so the backup story in this one is talking about a monkey creature in Delhi, that the Monkey Man of Delhi, that people swore they saw, and nobody knew what it was. And it became this mass hysteria for like 3 weeks, and people were dying. They were falling off of rooftops. It was like a hot summer where power outages kept happening, so people kept sleeping on the rooftops, and everybody kept panicking and freaking out. And so all these people died, and yet nobody ever actually saw anything. They're like, is it because the news kept reporting on it and like making it a bigger and bigger deal? Like what? Nobody knows. Nobody knows if it's real. I guess somebody eventually came to do research to see if it was a new cryptid or if it was an alien kind of situation, and nobody could find anything. So everybody just kind of lost interest. But you always get some really fascinating stories inside Blue Books, so you should definitely be checking it out. Up next, we've got the One Hand issue 2 from Image Comics. This is a part of a new companion story series that Ram V is doing. And this, you get one side of the story written by Ram V, that is this one, which tells us about the hero of our story, and then the other side is written by, I can't remember who right now, I'm sorry. That's called The Six-Fingered Man, and it's about from the villain's point of view. But this is all about a detective who is about to retire, and literally on the day of his retirement, information comes in that there has been a murder, and the murder was done by somebody who he allegedly caught and put in prison years and years before. Except the thing is that wasn't the first time that another person had come up and done the same murders. And so this is like the third instance. He's already put 2 different people in jail. And yet here we are again where he may have been wrong. And so he's like, I can't retire. This is my case. I have to figure it out. So he goes back into the investigation to figure out what exactly it is that's going on and find out who this murderer is that keeps leaving these clues for him everywhere they go. And if you are a fan of detective stories, honestly, this is a fantastic one. This is a great mystery. I love seeing these characters try to figure things out. They're already great. You've got like your surly detective, but he really wants to do the right thing, but now he's getting all of this negative attention because maybe he nabbed the wrong guy again. And so it's like, does this guy know what he's doing? Does he have any idea? And like, he's like, I swear all the clues like pointed to this, what is going on? And since we can see the story from the other person's side of the story, they're not really like complete connecting. Like, we may be years behind on the other story. We don't know exactly where the 2 fall, so it's going to be really cool to see where they overlap, but you are also completely able to just read one story, not the others if you want. This is so good. People are going to be talking about this. This is going to be one of those books that in 2025 we're probably going to be talking about this, like with Eisner's and stuff, because of how good Ramvi is doing at creating this world and these characters. I'm going to take a drink before I do number 1, so I'm drinking the Wente Cab Sav. Oh, man. Woohoo. All right, there's some so good number 1, so we're going to jump right in. First up, we have Kalis, issue 1 from Silverline Comics. This story was one of those where I was like, I have no idea what I ordered, and I thought it was going to be like a space alien situation like when I started reading it. And that is totally not what this is at all. And so this story opens up in a really cool way where we see this like astronaut falling to space. And it's the tagline is, in 1967, the CIA sent astronauts into space and lost them, which is such a cool tagline. And then it's like, today, Scott Anders crashes to the ground. And so that's exactly what happens in the now, which I think it's supposed to be 2017, I think it is, in the story. But this guy crash lands in modern times, and he goes into this gas station. He's like, hey, I have no idea what's going on and where I am, but I just need a ride to California. And like, they're like, sorry, dude, we can't do it. And he's like, look, I'm only talking to the guy with the truck. I'm not talking to the guy with the gun in his pocket. And the guy with the gun in the pocket is like, I was going to rob this place, but now I'm just going to like come after you. Bless you. And the guy's like, nope, you can't do that. I'm like indestructible. And you're like, whoa, where's this guy from? Who is he? So he goes to a military base, and we learn while we're seeing his memories of like, we see him like enlisting in the army, like back in like the early 1900s. I'm not sure if it's World War I or World War II. I think it's supposed to be World War II. And so it'd have to be World War II. He was born in 1925. So he's enlisting in the army, and then you see him like actually show up at the military base, and they're like, hey, you can't be here. Like, there's no record of you at all. There's nothing that shows that you're a military man. There's nothing that shows your name. They don't even know, like, if you've ever existed anywhere. And he gives them all this random information, and they're like, doesn't matter. And he's like, look, you just have to say this code word on your red phone. And they're like, we don't even know what you're talking about. What's a red phone? And so they end up taking him to the one place on base that might have some information, which is the historical information section. And the guy that's there is like, holy cow, I was there when you like were enrolled in this secret top agent program. Like, what is going on? Like, you were born in 1925. This is crazy. And so we start to see some major stuff unravel, and he's telling us that there is an end of the world situation that is coming, and nobody is listening to him. We're going to figure out what that means, how he knows that, and who he is, hopefully in the next few issues, but definitely gave us a great start to a weird unraveling mystery. Up next, we've got John Carpenter's Toxic Commando, issue 1 from Dark Horse Comics. This is the story of a man who is greedy and is probably going to get what he deserves. It is a businessman who decides that he wants to dig deeper than anyone has ever dug before, and nothing bad has ever happened when any greedy businessman has said that in a book or movie made by John Carpenter. And so he's like, I'm gonna do this, and they're like, no, don't. And he's like, I'm gonna do it anyway. And then he gets a phone call in the middle of the night that all these people are being attacked by these like zombie-like monsters because some goop of some sort has come out of the ground, and now these people are all bad. And he's like yelling at the people that he hired to make sure he never looked bad, that they cover it up. And they're like, that's not our job, dude. You like went too far. You broke the laws of nature. Like, you're gonna reap what you sow. And that's exactly what I expect. We do get a flashback of how it all started. We get some story. And then in the latter half of the book, we do get to see some monstrous creatures that John Carpenter can bring our way coming out. If you are a fan of any of John Carpenter's horror movies or storytelling, you are definitely going to enjoy this book. This was another one of those just fantastic horror stories that I can't wait. You're gonna get your comeuppance, dude. I know it, because you started out as a big giant jerk in a horror story, and that means you're gonna die, and it's gonna be painful, and I'm just honestly gonna read the rest of the series for that. Napalm Lullaby, issue 1 from Image Comics. This is another great Rick Remender story coming at you. He's killing it right now with Sacrificers, and I'm really excited to see what he does with this one as well. So this is, honestly, this is Rick Remender exploring gods in a different way. Sacrifices is all about gods and them taking what they want from the people. This is the opposite side. This is the people determining who their god is and what that god expects from them, and then taking from other people in that god's name. And so we've got a world where there's all these different people who have different belief systems, and in this one we're focusing on one set of one religious sect, and the person is like, hey, I've got all of this stuff, and I'm going to, like, he just kind of like takes, and then he shows up to this brothel, essentially, and is like, which did just remind me that I need to be careful, and is like, hey, like, I've got this stuff that you asked me to steal, and he delivers it to this woman who he thinks is going to pay him in the ways that somebody would in a brothel, and ends up that she's like, that's not what's actually happening here, and her brother are robbing him. And we find out that in this world of a bunch of people who believe that their gods reign supreme and they can take and do whatever they want to people in the name, as long as they do it in the name of their god, that there is one brother and one sister who believe that they need to stand against that and actually show the world that humanity needs to fight for itself and needs to do good things for themselves, or they are going to be lost entirely. And so they are working to put the world, open the world, eyes of the world up, and stand against all of these different people. And there's a lot that they're going to have to do. There's a lot of people they're going to have to go through. There's a letter from Rick Remender at the back on just how much, like, everything that he's seen in the last few years have really impacted him, and how this story started small and has just, like, grown so big. And so I cannot wait to see how destructive and how big this story is going to get as it goes on. And speaking of stories of crazy, like, off the wall, how far can we take things? This is Washed in the Blood, issue 1 from Massive Publishing. And this book starts out with a group of gods sitting around having a conversation about what they can, just how they can manipulate people and what they can make people fall into and how far they can push that. And one of them ends up deciding that one of them tells the story, first of all, of like a kid writing a comic book of Jesus being the god of, like, getting people high, and it's hilarious. And they're like, okay, no, you are definitely out. You are not in charge of being the god of anything anymore. And then they go into a situation where they're like, okay, we're going to start, see if we can push people to start a cult around guns and around this society. And we're going to see how far we can push them. And then we see them kind of speak to one of the kids and say, you know, you're going to be the salvation of this group, and you're going to be the one that gets to remain. And so he thinks he's talking to this God who has his best interest in mind, and his father is the leader of the cult. And we see how far that they can push the dad, how far the dad can push him, and how far the son is willing to go for what they all believe. And so we see how belief systems change, and how we can, like, how somebody can hear something and change it over the course of time, and how it can all play together, and how people can be like twisted and manipulated around those things in a very interesting and crazy way. So that comic, like, I actually read it twice because I was like, ooh, I got to go back and read like that beginning part where they were all trying to, I should hold this up while I'm still talking. Well, I have to go back and read that beginning part where they're all sitting there trying to figure out like what it is that they have to say. Because when you got to the end, you get to the end, you're like, oh, wow, that had a lot to say on that side. And then it was like, wait, what were they doing in the beginning? And so it's good to honestly go back and reread like the conversations at the beginning once you know where the story is going. Okay, this is a weird one. I'm so excited to like bring this up. But this is True Horror Mysteries, The Babysitter Killer and Other Terrifying Tales. And this is actually from Zenoscope. And there is like no adult content of the like the usual kind in this. This is more on the mature, because it's actually just talking about true crime stories. And usually with Zenoscope, you know, you get your grim fairy tales and all of your like racy like illustrations. This doesn't have any of that in there. Like, it's crazy. But it starts out with the true story of the babysitter killer. And it starts to look into, you know, all the kids that went missing and were eventually found to be murdered. And it fast forwards from the 60s to the now, where they're actually, or the early 2000s, and then throughout to now, where they figure out that like polygraph tests weren't accurate, because polygraph tests weren't accurate back then, and that like people were set free or were taken into custody and kinds of things because of stuff that they didn't do or were let go, and how there may have been somebody who got away with this murder because of who they were connected to. And then it's like, oh, well, let's try to find that person. And then it's like, oh, now that person's been murdered like 10 years later. And so it's crazy. And then they go through all the conspiracies. And then we move to a second story, which is the Circleville letter mysteries. And this is all about a woman who started receiving letters that or a man who started receiving letters that his wife was having an affair with somebody from a school, and then the person at the school was getting the letters. And then when they finally got the letters to stop, signs started going up around town that said that there was like an affair happening and all these different things. And so it was like, okay, well, they figured it out. And they kind of thought they knew who it was. So the husband tries to go after him, and something ends up happening to the husband. And then it's like, okay, well, then the letters kept going. And so somebody was tried for it, and somebody was convicted for it, and then stuff kept happening. And the rumors of who it might actually be in the end just keep getting crazier and crazier, and all kinds of stuff that happens. And then there is, what is the name of this family? The Jameson family murder mystery. And basically, this family went on a vacation, and one day somebody came across their car in the middle of nowhere. All the windows rolled up, all their stuff still in it, even their pet dog still in the car, and he was like perfectly fine, but they broke the window to let the dog out, and it was like the dog had just been in there, and they were just fine. Like, where was the people? And like, they looked around, they couldn't find them, they couldn't find any reason to believe that something had happened to the people. And then as they continued to look for them, all they found were skeletons. And it was like, well, nothing, like, all the stuff was still fine in the car. Like, how did they get there, and how did they decompose that fast, and what went down, and where? And so there's all the theories on what could have happened with them. I love it. Not a single one of these has a solution. It's literally just like, hey, there's a lot of really weird, unsolved, true horror stories in this world, and we're just going to show them to you, and you can put up your own thoughts on what you think they may be and figure it out. But, you know, we may never know the answers to those questions. All right, I've got some picks of the week coming your way. First up, Helen of Windhorn, issue 1. This is from Dark Horse, and this is another great new Tom King title. This is the story of Helen, who is a young girl, probably about college age, who is from a very prominent rich family, but she has been raised by her dad, whose goal was to always just be the wild free spirit. He was a writer, and so he raised her like out on their own, doing like the craziest things. She talks about being train jumpers and just kind of going wherever they go and all the things that they do. I never had a bed unless it was made of hay and kind of things like that. Oh, my dad let me smoke when I was 11, so I've been smoking ever since then. Well, her dad passes away and her grandfather requires that she be brought home by a governess to live in this gigantic mansion of a home where her father was actually raised and where the family has lived its legacy forever. And when she gets there, she is just kind of a drunken lush, and she takes wine from the wine cellar every day and drinks it around the house until she falls asleep. But every night she shows up in her governess's room claiming that she has seen monsters and that they are stalking her and that things are dark and mysterious and she doesn't know what it is. And we start to see that the stories that her father had created as a fantasy writer for all those years may not be so much a fantasy, but a reality that he was plagued with in his home, and it may be a part of her family legacy. I love this because the whole story is told from the governess's point of view. She is being interviewed like decades later from when this story actually takes place, and so we know that like something happens with this family. We don't know what it is, but there's something mysterious that went down, and it all happened at Windhorn, and we are going to see something incredible come out of this story. It's Tom King. The writing was top-notch. The characters were already incredibly believable. I feel like I'm watching an amazingly well-done, Oscar-worthy movie from the beginning. It's going to be so good. Cannot wait to see where this goes. Fantastic already. If you didn't pick it up, issue 1, get on it now. Tell your LCS to just subscribe you to it, because if you love Tom King, you're going to love it. I've already been told by one of my customers that this is so far his book of the year, and it is so much fun. This is I Heart Skull Crusher, issue 1 from Boombox. This is, I've read it 3 times already. It's so much fun. It's a laugh a minute, and I want to be friends with this character in so many ways. So this is about a young girl, and her name is Trini Wastelander, and she lives in the wasteland. And all she's ever wanted to do is play this screaming paintball, which is kind of like roller derby in her apocalyptic world. And she wants to do it because she saw a woman named Skull Crusher playing screaming paintball when she was a child. And she's like, oh my God, I'm in love. Oh my God, she's the coolest. This is the greatest person of all time. I need to be her, and I need her to love me, and I need to be everything. But Trini is an orphan who lives in the middle of nowhere, and she's like, I trained and trained and trained so that I could become the greatest screaming paintball player ever, but I will never have a chance to do it. And literally, like, as she's like, I will never have a chance to do it, there's an announcement over the loudspeaker of the town that's like, hey, here's your chance to play screaming paintball. And it turns out that the queen of the world is giving everybody a chance to try out for a team. Bring your teams. If your team wins, you get a chance to join Skull Crusher's team. So, of course, Trini must do that. She goes around and tells everybody that they should join her team. And everybody thinks that Trini is the crazy girl in town, so they don't want her to be on their team, and they don't want to be on her team. So Trini ends up trying to find a coach. Doesn't work out so well, and she does end up finding a couple of people to maybe join her team. Not in the traditional sense of how you think that would work out as well. She has the most wonderfully optimistic attitude. She is so fun, and like, it's like delusional optimism, and it's fantastic in the way she does. It does kind of feel like an American manga. For me, like right now, I'm watching the live action Avatar The Last Airbender, and so it kind of even has like the Avatar show kind of feels to it, where it's like there's so much love and excitement, but there's also like so many like hilarious things going on. So this is fantastic. If you haven't read it, if you didn't pick up issue 1, pick up issue 1, pick it up immediately. Subscribe to the whole thing. It's going to be great. And it is Boombox, so teenagers can read this. So far, maybe even a little bit younger, but for sure, like, your teen up audience is absolutely gonna love Skull Crusher. And then I have to put it in here because it's out this week, and this was one of my top books of last year. This is literally won so many of our Batastic Awards. Something Epic is out in trade paperback for the first arc. This is issues 1 through 7. Amazing story. Simon does such a great job of blending art styles and talking about what imagination and art is and what it means to let your imagination be real and consume you, and how you can stop darkness with it. And so I usually don't say trade paperbacks in my picks of the week, but I am throwing this in there because it's amazing and it needs to be in there. So lastly, I've got all of your in-stocks coming your way. So everything else that came out this week, we've got Hexpaw, Left of the Devil issue 2 from Blood Moon. Thundercats issue 2 came out. I actually didn't know I had any copies left of this till today, or I would have read this. So I was excited to see that there was still one there. There's a brand new character to your Thundercats lore that came out in this issue 2. Wesley Dodd's Sandman issue 6 is out from DC Comics, bringing back your JSA world. The Weatherman Volume 3 issue 3 coming your way. Suicide Squad Dream Team issue 1. This features a Dreamer who was introduced on the Arrowverse TV shows and brought into comics last year, and is now leading the Suicide Squad team, doing some work for Amanda Waller as per usual. Star Wars The High Republic Adventures Volume 3 issue 4 out this week. Spider-Gwen Smash issue 4. I love my Spider-Gwen and everything she does. Sinister Sons issue 2. We had our Super Sons. Now this is the Sinister Sons. It is the son of Sinestro and the son of General Zod. And it is Peter Tomasi who gave you the Super Sons, giving you the Sinister Sons and all the heart that comes into that. Power Pack Into the Storm issue 3 from your original Power Pack creative team, June and Wheezy. I'm so excited that they are working together again. The Outsiders issue 5 is a part of your Dawn of DC, and look at that wicked Batwoman cover. I love her so much. She's so cool. Fables is back. It's still going. It's still at DC. We've got issue 162 out for you this week.
Cool cover.
It is a cool cover. Carnage issue 5. This is the Symbiosis Necrosis. I was like, I really want to say that just because it sounds cool, but this is part 2 of that storyline going on in Carnage. Dead X-Men issue 3, and your Fall of the House of X issue 3 as well. And we're getting all these covers right now from Marvel on all your different variants. Immortal Thor issue 8, Star Wars Mace Windu issue 2, Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 issue 1 is out from Marvel this week, as well as the Amazing Spider-Man issue 45. Green Lantern issue 9 is out. Was this actually labeled? They didn't label this. That's funny. This is, I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be. I don't know. Maybe the Jessica Cruz one is, but I was like, this is a female cover for not a Women's History Month. I feel like, Carol deserves to be a Women's History Month variant. Black Widow and Hawkeye new series out issue 1. I'm really excited about that. Avengers Twilight issue 4. Batman Dylan Dog issue 1. This is a massive book, and it is only $4.99. That's crazy to me. But I didn't know, I'm not going to lie, I didn't know who Dylan Dog is, because not everybody can know who Dylan Dog is. And one of our customers explains to me that he is a character from like an Italian pulpy kind of comic. He had a long run of comics that like went off and on, kind of been tried to bring over to like American comics several times, and now he is here with Batman. So, we can't all know every character, so it's good to learn and ask people who do. And it's okay to admit that you don't know everything about every comic ever, because in 100 years, that's a lot of stuff to memorize. Speed Force issue 5 from DC Comics. All right, we got some incredible graphic novels out this week. I'm so excited. And some great trade paperbacks. First up, we have The Mushroom Knight Volume 1 from Mad Cave. I'm so excited about this. This is about a mushroom knight who goes on a quest, who's trying to stop something from the Woodland Kingdom, and then like a girl in Philadelphia who's searching for her lost dog, and their worlds collide, and it is gorgeous. I'm so excited. Look at this mushroom art. So cool. So cool. I know Matt's a fan of the mushrooms. Anytime mushrooms are knights, Matt's in. So I'm so happy. And Mad Cave, this is beautiful and such a perfect size. Like, this book needed to be in the oversized format. It's gorgeous. We've also got Masters of the Nefarious. This is it, I can't remember what country it's from, but this is the first time this book has been in English. And it is crazy. It's very shaky cane style art, but it's all about after a tsunami hits and giant mollusks taking over the world. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in this book. Again, very shaky cane-esque. We have Rusalka, Whispers of the Forest, which is about a Slavic water demon mythology and whether or not, like, this, is she a deadly threat? Helping, like, hurting lost wanderers, or, like, as the legend says, or is she actually, like, a good character and a good person? Water demons are something that terrifies me, so I'm very excited to read this book and pretend like I'm not scared. Tinder. This book I'm very excited about. I have not had a chance to read it yet, but I'm very excited because it is about a woman who wanted, like, a perfect wedding. She wanted a perfect husband. She wanted a perfect wife or life. She wanted to just control everything. And then in this, like, psychological thriller, everything gets torn down. Like, they even say, like, there's some body horror to it. But they talk about how it takes the tropes of women's social expectations and the self-sacrifice they put in and, like, puts it into all of this stuff of a horror story. And so I'm so excited, even, like, this back picture, like, because this looks so creepy, and I'm so excited to read this book. It's going to be so good. This is probably what I'm reading tomorrow. Let's just put it on the other side so I don't forget. Resident Evil's got a new book out from Tokyo Pop and Capcom. Adversary. This is the newest Silver Sprocket book, and it is about Curtis, who is single and out and ready to meet his match in 2021. So it's that post-COVID trying to figure out how relationships and drinking and going out and all of that are going to work. It's connection, it's grief, it's world-changing events, and how that plays into what we do with our lives now. And then a Deadpool verse, Deadpool core, just in time to get you excited for the Deadpool movie that you're probably already excited about, with all the other characters that could be potentially showing up in it, because we are doing that. And if you watch trailers, please don't comment which ones you heard are going to be there or saw in a trailer, because other people don't watch them and don't want to know. But this book will help you figure out who they all are. It includes Prelude to Deadpool Core 1 through 5, Deadpool Core 1 through 12, and the Deadpool family. So it's got a whole bunch of Deadpool stuff in there. And then I've got a package. Ooh, and it's from Comicsburg. Oh my gosh. And you already started it? Do I need to? Okay, I can pull out from here. I can't pull out from here. Oh man, there's so much stuff. Okay, I have to open it because there's stuff inside. I'm like the worst unboxer ever, so this is pressure. Matt one time got that Dick Tracy that's on the wall behind us, and I had to cut it out of the box while he was gone, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack. So this is why I don't unbox things, because I'm so bad about it. So, okay, so we've got some Edge cards. It looks like they're going to have, like, all the characters in here, so they're almost like they're trading cards for the characters, and I can open that up and show them off, but I know you're getting that shot of them right now. Okay, yeah, so this is going to have... Ooh, can you open that for me while I show off the other stuff? And then these are really cool. These are also from the Edge, I believe, but these are the, like, symbol. And these are enamel pins, which enamel pins, dude, that is dope. Thank you. Everybody loves enamel pins. This is some... Yeah, that's exactly the word I was going to use. Oh, and then these... What? Wait a second. Is this for real, for real? Oh, man. The Edge action figures coming soon. Is that for real? Are you guys really making action figures? That is so dope. Oh, my gosh. That's fantastic. Yeah, way to go. Yes, that is so dope that you're that awesome. We are definitely gonna put these up in the store so people can see. Did you see all the, like, mini, like, actionable poses on the bottom? That is so cool.
For the audience here. That is so super cool.
That is so super cool. And then there's
congrats, y'all.
Yeah, super congrats. And then there's some information on the back about the series. If you haven't read it yet, there's a QR code. We do have some issues in stock, and this is talking about the newest volume.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. And then now you got the cards open. So yeah, there's Blaine.
Come back over.
This way?
There you go, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Blaine, and then Bolt. I don't know which order they're going in, so I obviously have to look. And then, who do we got? Him. I was like, I want to see them too. I haven't seen them. Oh, it's on the back too. Okay. Interim. It's cool because I'm going to show you the back of this one since we're going through. They've got the, like, all the trading card stats and stuff on the back. And I like them because they're oversized. So they're not like, they're like 4x6 photo size almost. Mystic. We got Randa. Yeah. And then Shift. Oh man, Shift, dude. And then Spin-Off. I love this. This is so cool. Yeah, these are awesome. Again, I love the size for those, like postcard size instead of trading card size is cool because this is the kind of stuff that I used to put on like my tack boards around my comic room, so I love that. And then these are little mini posters. Oh my gosh, there's
those in the shop.
Yeah. We'll have this available. Like if you subscribe to the Edge, you're definitely getting one of these immediately put in your box. So as well as like some of the pins and stuff for all the subscribers, like you're gonna get all this and one of these for each subscriber for sure. I'm so excited. And then if you don't subscribe, maybe that's why you should. Just make sure you don't miss out. But that is incredible. Thank you so much to... I was like, did Marvin send that? Yeah, thank you so much, Marvin. That is incredible. We're so stoked. If you haven't read The Edge or if you're not picking up a Comicsburg book at all, there's one for like every kind of reader because you've got your different stories. You've got your superheroes in The Edge. You've got your action heroes and all of those kinds of things and things like Blowtorch. You've got Beowulf. You've got stuff so you can find your spot in the Comicsburg universe, and you can also support indie creators who are working together as a collaborative team to put out their books, which is so cool to see them work together and do that. So support indie creators because look at all the cool stuff they're making and all the cool... I mean, they're going to have action figures, guys. That's so cool. So thank you, Marvin. Thank you, Comicsburg. We love the support. Appreciate it so much. And this is why you should read books, guys. There's so many great, incredible comic books. I tell you about them every week. I hope you're picking them up. You don't have to pick them up at Bad City. If you're here, obviously, we'd love it if you came by. We would think that was amazing, and we'd love to talk about all the books you're reading. But if you're not near us, that's cool, too. Find a shop near you and tell them you want to read these books. A lot of comic stores don't know which of these like indie and small press books to order until a customer like you comes in and says, I want to get this book. Can I start a subscription to it? Can I get a pull list? That means I want to pick that book up every month. Can you order it just for me? That's what that term means. They're going to do that just for you, and they don't know you need it until you ask them for it. So make sure you're asking them, and ask them in advance. If you know you want it right now, go in and tell them so that it's before that next order cutoff date for them. So that way they're adding it to your list and they can get it for you wherever your local comic shop is. Tell them you want those titles and you want to make sure you get them. Pre-order them with them if you can. Do your best. Let them know. Communicate. That's what they're there for. And read great comics because they're out there. They're everywhere. There are so many of them. I'm going to keep telling you about them every week. I hope you're going to keep picking them up and reading them. And speaking of reading great books and all kinds of things like that and supporting indie creators, make sure you come to Bat City if you're in our area this Saturday, March 23rd, because we are going to have the one and only, the mustachioed man himself, TV Artworks out here signing his Lightning Comics exclusive for TMNT Saturday Morning Adventures. It is an awesome cover. He's going to be here selling those exclusive covers. He's going to be signing them. $15. He'll do a remark on it. It's going to be an awesome event. We're going to have story spelunkers going on during the day, so kiddos are going to get to read some Ninja Turtles and do some Ninja Turtles crafts. It's going to be awesome. It is a turtley, tubular, fantastic day. It's going to be a lot of fun. Come out. It's 12 to 5 this Saturday, March 23rd. Come support an indie creator and a local one who is part of our Bat fam and is making great things. And then support an indie creator near you. And have the fantastic, absolutely amazing, wonderful St. Patrick's Day. We will see you in the shop this week for New Comic Book Day or for Tim signing, or we'll see you here on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Eastern to talk about all the new and great small press and indie comics. Until then, happy reading, everyone.